What does it look like to actually survive as a creator, not just for a season, but for a career? She's worked with brands like Nickelodeon, HBO, Sesame Workshop, and Nintendo.
Just because you plant a seed does not mean the tree will grow. You have to pay attention to it. It might grow, but it might be weeds if you don't pay attention to it. And when these little girls came up to me and they said, "We didn't know girls could do that," I was like, I have to do this because they need to see someone. It will haunt you forever. So you might as well just answer the call
Hmm.
and see what happens.
What does it look like to actually survive as a creator, not just for a season, but for a career? My guest today has been creating since she was 12 years old, literally producing her middle school's morning announcements. And since then, she's worked with brands like Nickelodeon, HBO, Sesame Workshop, and Nintendo. She's an Emmy credited producer, a Skillshare instructor, a live streamer, and the founder of Mandl Media, Inc. But here's what's interesting. Marielou Mandl didn't blow up overnight. She built a sustainable creator business across multiple revenue streams by doing the opposite of what most people in the space are teaching. No hacks, no shortcuts, just over a decade of showing up with clarity and with discipline. And she once described independent creators as farmers. You plant seeds, you improve your skills, but you don't burn through everything because the next season could bring a drought. I've wanted to have this conversation because I think most of us only hear the highlight reel version of what it takes to build a creator business or a career as a creator. Mariellou's story is more of the full picture, the hustle, the boundaries, the decisions that don't make for flashy content, but are the reason that she is still here doing this all these years later. Marielou, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Well, you said when you were sometime around the age of 13, when someone asked you what you wanted to be when you grew up, your answer was free. What did that mean to you back then? And what does that mean to you now?
Like, I think back at that and I was like, "What was this little girl on?" Like, what what like, she was thinking on a different level, but it does make sense to me because growing up seeing people in jobs and careers, but all I saw was people that looked like they were trapped,
Hmm.
and there had to be something else, right? So that was my thing is that I knew I couldn't be strapped to someone else's cubicle. Like, granted, now I'm like strapped to this studio, but it's mine, right? So it's like they're my own
Yeah.
chain. So it doesn't feel like I'm trapped here. So as a kid, not having like the full context of life, just knowing that's not what I want, is seeing what other people were kind of going through because I always wanted for myself, I was like, there has to be something more. We get one life. So, how can we utilize our time the best for our adventure? Now, as an adult, being free comes at a cost, right? Free can be expensive, but worth it for me because I have autonomy and I make my own choices. And like, I have to think about all the elements that are going on, like, is health insurance going to happen? Is payroll going to happen? Are the next gigs going to happen? But I love that hustle because everyone it came up again. A lot of people I know working in these stable jobs feel trapped, and as we're seeing through various industries, you are let go at the drop of a hat. Like, these stable, secure jobs are not stable, secure jobs. So it's the devil I know is I can stand where I'm at and I can look at a landscape and I have built a resilience over an entire career of I have to figure out the next moves. I'm not relying and trusting information that I don't know because I would imagine that a lot of people who are getting laid off from these stable jobs for the security don't have the whole picture and are surprised. So, freedom for me, it can cost like, it is not the life for everybody, I will tell you this, it is not the life for everyone, but it is the most valuable thing to me, and I built that life.
I have so many follow-up questions. I'll start with this. which may be too existential for this early in the conversation, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you think that version of you, that like preteen, early teen version of Mary Lou, would be proud of the version of you today and what you are doing with your career?
Yes. She's like, "Oh my gosh, you've got 2 cats, you got so many cameras, you can play video games when you want to, you're in charge of your own company," you know, like, the full mansion, the fancy car, like, all of that, like, that was not the dream
Hmm.
for me. It was like living a life where it's like, if I need to go do something, I can go do it, right? If I need to, you know, next month we're going to the Grand Canyon. I can do that. I don't have to ask somebody for the time off. I just
Yeah.
schedule my work around that.
You mentioned insurance, and what that triggered for me is as you were talking through um, people who are working kind of a typical office job or a cubicle job or something like that,
Mhm.
and being at the whims of somebody else all the time. Do you think that building or creating content alongside perhaps a traditional job is can become a form of insurance these days?
I think, yes. I've been telling all of my friends who do have their, stable, secure jobs that like anybody, I'm always like, you need to have a podcast. Like you can't take her anywhere. And I'll be like, you should have a podcast. You should make a podcast about that. Because when the barrier to entry is very accessible now. And everybody does really have something interesting to share.
Mm.
So your content is your resume, your branding is your portfolio. So the insurance of like if this secure job does not work out. And that's like sometimes not because of anything bad other than that business just couldn't sustain that workforce anymore. But you have to look out for yourself, right? It's like relying completely on someone else is not it's it's proven untrustworthy for everyone, right? And not that you can't trust people, but you should, number 1, look out for yourself, trust yourself, and build a good foundation for yourself. So, yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, content as insurance is a good thing.
I'm with you, and I don't know why it has taken me so long to consistently create content because I've been working in this industry for nearly a decade at this point, and I've always been telling myself, "Oh, you should create content. You have like you should be out there doing." And I didn't do it. I just kept, "I'm busy. I don't know what to say." Blah blah blah. And I should have just started because the hardest part is being consistent. But once you get that muscle going, I think it just starts to snowball from there. Now, as somebody who has been a creator, as the term creator has like been created or become a very core pillar in our daily lexicon, you have had to come up perhaps in an industry or a career field that didn't have a lot of mentorship available. What did that cost you and what did it teach you?
When you say, like, the term creator, right, the role of creator has, like, been created, when I remember working at a job, I was, like, my secure job, and I was creating content, and I was like, "We need to make videos, like, it's very like, we should also have this arm of it, it's important," and they're like, "Great, yeah, that's your role," and, like, I had to come up with the name of the role, digital content producer. Like, I was, like, scrolling LinkedIn, I was like, "What do people call this job?" Now, we can find digital content producer, we can find content creator, we can find creator, all of that kinda stuff on LinkedIn, but there was, like, a time where it was like, "What do I call this skill set that I know I have?" Now, you're, like, talking about mentors, and there was not mentors coming up, but that might have been my destiny to begin with. Like, as great as it would have been to have mentors coming up, I've always kind of been, like, going my own path.
Hmm.
If it's the path that everybody's on, I'm probably gonna try something different just to see. And I don't know if that's like an eldest daughter thing, who knows? But not having mentors, because I always have had to be the one that was leading the charge, I don't think I really looked for mentors, and
Mm.
nobody really came in that could fill that void. Now I wonder, like, thinking back about it, like, could it have changed things? Like, if there was a mentor that was like, "Hey, this thing or that," like, maybe I would have been further along in business, right? I would have loved to have, like, a business mentor
Mm.
early on, because I figured out everything on myself slowly and painfully, but I did it. Over time, and, like, fortunately, we have the resources of the internet. We have all the information out there. I tell you what, if we had AI when I was in my 20s, it'd be a different game.
It's crazy out there right now.
Yes. And, like, it's interesting, like, that's an interesting thing I think of, like, if we had it in our 20s, but the thing is we don't have the context of what we know now. So, it really isn't, like, I say it in jest, because if we had it when we were in our 20s, would we have known what to do with it? Like, kids who are coming up right now who don't have life experience, don't have the context for what is happening. So, I don't know. Sometimes I do think also as, like, millennials, where we've gotten things not at the beginning every time, but we have lived a little bit to, like, have some context with it, versus, like, generations before us, they were already grown, so it was hard to implement, and then generations after us, like, their entire lives, the internet existed. Their entire lives, AI will have existed, is,
Mm.
like, crazy pants. Like, what is their mind going to be, and how they operate in the world? It's gonna be totally different, but I do think, like, I'm grateful for the time period I was born into, that I was, you know, a female that was allowed to have a checking account, you know, like a
Mm.
woman who is able to have a business, someone who is mixed Filipino and American, and I can operate without scrutiny, like, what an amazing time to be alive and to, like, experience all this technology. So why not? Why not do it? So no mentors, but I'm like such a mix of things that I don't know if it was gonna happen.
Because of that, do you feel any sort of responsibility or burden to mentor younger people now? Because you came up without somebody like that, and now based on all such diverse and powerful experiences that you've accumulated that maybe others are envious of, do you think about how to kind of pour that back into future generations?
Yes, I'm like, I am a big sister to the core. And if someone needs something, I'm like, "Yes, how can I help you? How
Mm.
how can I serve you so you can get further along and learn something different?" Because even I feel like we can learn, like, I think it's like with, like, mentors, and what's like the opposite of the mentor?
Mentee.
Mentee, right? Like, we can all learn from each other. From lots of experience to little experience, you maybe are looking at things a little bit differently. So, yes, I'm like, I'm here. I want to help. If somebody needs help, I'm like, yes, let me tell you everything you might want to know. But then also in talking to them, I start to learn things back and, like, reflect things back, because I am like, I am pretty empathic, right? And I, like, will feel what people are feeling, and I can see the nuance in, like, "Oh, that's a struggle for you because of something bigger," or "This made sense to you this way because you have a different life experience." Like, there's so much to learn from everyone. So, yes, let's
I love
all
that.
learn.
I'm with you. So I wanna talk a little bit about this idea of creators being a lot like farmers. What does that look like in how you run your business day to day?
When I think of creators as farmers, we we plant seeds, right? So a lot of people think they're, like, just building a building and now it's going to be great forever, right? Like, it's gonna be standing forever, but it is not. right? Seasons, things go in seasons. From being in this career for so long, like I have seen platforms come and go. I have seen monetization models rise and fall. But I don't take that as a like, "Oh my gosh, like, the world is ending." That's like, "Great, that's the way of the season. That is what is happening right now because all we can handle is our output." So as the farmers, as the creators, we can make the best foundation for what we're growing. We can think about the resources we have, our seeds and all of that. Think about what we have and how we can utilize it the best. And when the harvest comes, hopefully it's bountiful, right? But we can't control the sun, we can't control the weather, we can't control some of the things, but we can only control what we do control and set ourselves up for success. So a lot of folks think like, I did the work and now I win. Just because you plant a seed does not mean the tree will grow. It doesn't work. You have to pay attention to it, you have to nurture it. You have to give it attention and like and also then it might grow, but it might be weeds if you don't pay attention to it. It might not be anything that's useful to you. So that's creators as farmers.
And then when you think about some of the things you've talked about previously, like of sometimes making a full-time living as a creator doesn't mean full-time all the time. And you just mentioned the idea of like having a harvest that's bountiful versus maybe a year where there's a drought or a famine. Like, how do you prepare for that in practice? And when you're weathering a season of famine or drought or whatever other natural disaster may befall a farmer, how do you mentally prepare for that and ride out the storm?
At the core of that is always being able to look for opportunity and be willing to just do other things. Like if you have to take a side gig, you have to take a side gig, right? So from the it's kind of switched for me. So it was like working full time doing other things, and then creating was a side gig, and then it's eventually switched over. Creating is the main thing. But if, say, my creating from my personal content, it's in a drought season, great. I go find some clients I can make videos for. I have a skill set. Let me go use that skill set for somewhere else so I can continue to sustain this other thing that I'm building. But you have to be flexible and open to opportunity because something might come up, and I try not to scoff at something when an opportunity shows up because you don't know, right? Like it might not align right now, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's like someone asking you to do something below you. You're just opportunities ever because maybe you can connect that to someone else as well. But opportunity and then keeping your network open, like talking to the
Mm.
other farmers, right? Because resources can be shared, right? Like it is it is a good community and a good place to be if you are also open for opportunity and not looking at it like everyone's your competition. Because as we can see, there's so much content that people need that needs to be consumed and that is in demand. There's so much. But be open to opportunity.
How do you decide when to cultivate something versus cull? And what I mean by cull is like eliminate. Because
Mhm.
as somebody who has, I've done the entrepreneurship thing, it feels like it in a different life. I've also doing a little bit of the creator thing. One of the things I've noticed about myself is that I am really good. There's a reason I've ended up as a coach at Uscreen. It's because I'm very good at looking at people's businesses, identifying patterns, and knowing how to take that and turn it into a priority and like a plan of action. However, when it comes to my own things, I feel like I have the biggest blind spot when it comes to myself. So I'll look at this podcast, for example, and think about, well, what what do I do to grow it? Or or continue it. And I have this, for some reason, it's like a mental blinder of what I should do. But I could look at somebody else's business and see the exact same thing and be like, oh yeah, go do this, 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 and this. And it's no problem. So how do you get rid of those like personal blinders on yourself and know when it's time to cultivate versus eliminate?
Well, Daniel, let me tell you, I am the same. Can look at somebody else. So I don't know if there's an answer for that. For us, it's finding other people. It's like
Mm,
finding other people who can do that, right? So before we started the interview today, I'd asked Daniel kind of what he had kind of perceived of me because I could sense that you have this same gift and curse of seeing everyone else so clearly. Like I can see what you do and like it's like you are shining right now. Like you have found a really good place. And when it's to me, and I'm always willing to ask people the question though, like because I am aware this is a blind spot. So that is what is helpful for me is being willing to just like tell people, I'm like, you know what, I am not sure, but what do you see?
mm,
Because I feel like where you and I have come up and we've like whatever has lined up where we're able to see what other people are doing so clearly, not everybody has that skill set. So we kind of have to pull that out of other people. So when I'm trying to decide what to cultivate and what to cull, I ask these questions of other people that know me to varying degrees. And I think all of that kind of started when I was doing like an acting class like lifetimes ago. And one of the exercises was for us to go to like a populated area and like do a survey and be like, if you looked at me, what job do you think I would have? And just to see like what roles people kind of assign to you. Like, you could tell them like you were in acting class like that. Like, but if you saw me walking down the street, what kind of job? Do you think I'm a lawyer? Do you think I'm a barista? Do you think, what would you think? And outside perception is really a useful tool. Now, like as ourselves as the creators, then we need to like take that information and figure out what to do with it. But then that's where we get into trouble too, because we have all this information and we don't know what to do with it because there's so much information. Uh, when something's to be culled, though, if it's breaking me, right? It could be the most successful, lucrative thing, but I'm losing sleep over it.
mm.
It's making me sad. It's making me angry, right? Like it's bringing up these other emotions. It's not aligned. It's not worth it. That's not the freedom that I was trying to build. That's just being trapped in something that doesn't feel right. So that's usually when something needs to be cut, it's like pretty clear.
Right. But I find that sometimes it's still one of the harder decisions to make. So like this thing has legs. I know it does, but it's also drowning me, but not totally. Like I can still get up for air enough to survive for a while longer or maybe indefinitely. So I guess my follow-up question to that is like how do you come up, where do you find the confidence in yourself to make that decision when it's so hard?
It's leaning on other people. Like it definitely lately, like it has been, and I will be always honest with people about this, that it's like been a little like, what am I supposed to be doing? But
Mm,
I do know if my like, I turn 43 next month. And I'm like, she's always been like this though. Even that 13-year-old version of me was like, what am I supposed to be doing? But I just do. I continue. I move intuitively through the world. And I have lived a good experience of life living by that ethos, right? If there was like, if I could have picked a path and just won on that path and like been happy there, I would have done it. But I feel like it's not like at this point, sometimes I'm like, if it would have happened, it was going to happen.
mm,
So I live this way where I can experience new things, try new things. Cause I know it's like at my core, like we're creatives, we're creators, we're artists. We have to explore things in a different way. right? We have to look at things in a different way. But that is what builds, like, particularly like what you and I do, to be able to see other people because we do ingest what other people do. So the confidence comes from the community. So it's watching other people and seeing when other people are kind of struggling and being like, yeah, I feel that too. Here's what, like, we can give them advice. And sometimes what I'll do is like, I'll think about the advice I've given to someone else. And
Yeah.
I'm like, can you just take that? Can you just,
Right.
can we just do that? I thought
Right.
recently in my like accountability group that I run, that I was like, would I have kicked myself out of my own group? But this is not always the case. This is not always the case, right? It's just like it comes in waves, right? Just the way. And then I think about the people who are in my group, that they also go through waves. Sometimes they're really like resolute in what they want to do, and then other times they're in a season of but
Mm,
that's the seedlings, right? You're just
right.
little seedlings.
Well, and as a result of this and with the longevity that you have in this career, you've built a bunch of different revenue streams. How did you build all those different revenue streams? Was it one layer at a time? Did you have like this big master plan? Or at some point, did you some combination of both?
I would say it's that it goes back to that looking for opportunity and being open to opportunity. And it came definitely in steps, right? So I'm working full-time jobs, I'm working for other people. I get one kind of revenue stream that's like, oh, well, this like covers a couple bills. Great. And then another one comes in, like keep pushing at it. Another one comes in, oh, this can like actually cover my rent and all of that. And then continue to a point where it was able to switch over and then be full time as a creator. And then after a couple of years of it doing really well, then turning into S corp, like taking the business to that next level so then I could hire myself. So I'm really happy with like the journey of it and the discovery of it, because I do think sometimes if it did happen all at once, again, would you have known what to do with it?
Hmm.
Would you understand what you've built, right? I'm the kind of person that's like at a restaurant, like I understand a lot of work goes into a dish. So like I think about it like, wow, I can't do this dish at home, right? I'm always so impressed when I'm like, this is a dish I could not make at home because it takes a lot of work and thoughts and there's joy in that. It's not necessarily a
Hmm.
bad thing when people are like, it's so easy. Well, it's like, okay, that's not necessarily a good thing, right? If it's so easy. And then other people are like, oh, it's really, really hard. But that's not necessarily a bad thing because we can do hard things and it can be gratifying.
I love that. I say that exact phrase to my kids all the
Yeah.
times. I have 4 little kids, and I say it to them all the time because they're like, "Oh, I don't want to scoop dog poop in the backyard or whatever it is." And
Mhm.
I'm like, no, in this family, we do hard things. That's kind of the point of life, is to do hard things,
Yes.
learn, grow from it, serve other people, help other people doing hard things. Like, that's kind of the point. Um,
Mhm.
Speaking of hard things, you have a formal ethics statement on your website, which in my experience is pretty rare. Like, I honestly can't think of another creator I've run across who has something like that. Most people don't even think about it. Why was that an important layer to even have as a part of who you are and what it's like to work with you?
Well, that I will give all of the credit to Tom Buck, who's another creator. And uh I I saw he was like talking about something. This was like years and years ago, and he's like, "I've got an ethics statement. You should go steal it." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" So I went to go look at his website, and it was on there, and I was like, "That's really aligns with where I feel about things." Because what happens, like people don't realize when you start to get into like influencer work, people just hand you something and like you have to talk about it. You might be okay with that, but it's like an okay product. It's like whatever. It's not hurting anybody, but you got paid to talk about that product. But now your face is out there with that product. And this is early in my career. I would have people, they're like, "Oh, I saw your video where you were talking about this thing. It's really good, isn't it? Like is it really good?" And I'm "Mm, like, I don't, maybe not. Like, you don't need to buy it." But like, and then I was like, I don't like that feeling.
Mm,
I want my face to be on things if like people saw my face that they trust, that if I signed on to it, it was worth exploring, right? It was worth something. There's in recently a masterclass, the masterclass uh, platform. They had a Kim Kardashian masterclass, and she's like, I will promote a weight loss drug and Carl's Jr. in the same day as long as it pays, right? And some people are built like that.
hmm.
Some people can do that. And I've definitely I have other friends who are like, what does it matter as long as the paycheck is good? And I'm like, that's cool for you, but not for me.
Hmm.
You know, they might be living better lives. I don't know, but like, that's not my problem. I want to know if someone saw my face connected to something that I at least kind of thought it was good.
Yeah, it's hard for me to even empathize with that kind of not your perspective, but the other perspective of like, it's a paycheck. I'm exchanging a service for value, and that's just where it stops. Because for me, I I can't help but talk about great products and
Hmm.
shitty products like
Hmm.
alike, and then being forced to not tell people that something's a piece of crap because I got paid to do it feels
Hmm.
weird. And this is all coming from somebody who has never been in the position of having to make that decision. So I fully understand that I am what's the word I'm looking for? Projecting my
Hmm.
own perspective and experiences on somebody else who has gone through much different things. But I like this the Pocket Osmo.
Uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
freaking love this thing. I would sing its
You
praises
see?
to the club. I
All
do.
day
Same with
long. Look at us. Yes.
the
Pocket
DJI,
Club.
the DJI wireless mics.
Hmm.
Because I used to have the Rode wireless mics, and I love these
Hmm.
so much more. They're both great, and like I can look at all these things around me and be like, I would sing the praises of these. But if anything that was like garbage, I don't know. That's so hard. Is the line for you when like between honest recommendations and just selling something? Is it just like, do I actually believe in this?
It's for me is that you cannot buy my positive endorsement.
Mm,
My positive endorsement is not for sale. If it's a good product, great. Like I will talk about it. It's a good product because it's a good product. And now I can be a little bit more picky on like I used to just be like I'll do a product overview of something that's like not
right.
giving like an opinion. But even that I've gotten away from because
Mm,
I've done enough other work that I don't have to necessarily take those gigs. But there would be there would be times where it would be like a product, they want a product review and they want you to be like to sell, be like, it's so great, it's so amazing. And I was like, I don't actually think it's that great or amazing, but like I'll unbox it, I'll film an unboxing. It's like for like an Amazon product video or something like that. And then I just had to start. They would get aggressive, right? Sellers would get aggressive because of course they want you to sell, and there's
right.
other people who are willing to do that. And I was like, great, that's the job for them, not for
Yeah,
me.
I love that.
But you cannot buy my positive endorsement.
Well, that makes me feel better about you saying I was glowing in what I'm doing earlier because I did not buy that
Yeah.
positive endorsement.
You didn't,
um,
but that was
which I
not for sale.
and I appreciate it deeply. You mentioned this transition from contractor to forming an S corp. What triggered that specific transition, and what changed for you once you made that switch?
It was from a financial advisor who I'd been working with for a couple of years. Was like, okay, well, if this like continues on this trajectory, it would really be to your advantage. I'm like, okay, I had not really like thought about that. But it was, this is where it's like that would be like a great mentor if I had like, the financial mentor, the business mentor. I would have known about this sooner. So I'm grateful that he brought this up to me. And I was like, okay, well, let me look into it. Let me think about it. And it was the best decision. But the thing is, like, you can't really do that until you're consistently making over a threshold. And I was like, I can do this. It made me feel legitimate. It was very helpful for me in separating me and the business because for years I am the business. So if the business isn't doing well, then
Yeah.
I'm not doing well. Now it's separate, right?
Mm.
If the business isn't doing well, that isn't me. And even like that's logical stuff. I know I could like, think that myself without this legal paperwork in place, but I'm a Pisces and I've got emotions and having it separate is really, really helpful. And it is fun
Mm.
like having the payroll. And it helps things be clearer when you're a freelancer, like you really should have in place your business bank account and your personal bank account. But I understand you might not have that. But like having this like kind of set up, like I had been building towards that in my freelance business and then really having to separate that. It was like the beginner level and then the advanced level or maybe like intermediate.
Yeah.
But having a payroll is really cool. I'm just like,
Yeah.
I get a paycheck
From myself,
from
which is
myself. Yes.
I love that because I've gone through that a couple times where I had an LLC and then my tax person was like, "Hey, you're getting to the point where you should probably consider maybe transitioning this to an S corp because you're still paying the self-employment tax, which on top of state and federal income tax is like another 15%. And if you don't set that aside, oh boy, let me tell you, those payments to the IRS are painful. And
Yes.
when you do the S corp thing, there's obviously some tax advantage to that, which is amazing and so helpful, especially when you're a small business and a small creator, or maybe not small creator, but just a creator doing something via small business. So I love that. What do you think is the most important business decision that you've made that has had nothing to do with content?
Mm. I think it would be this like the S corp
Yeah.
situation like that. It really opened my eyes. I feel like I make the joke all the time. I'm like, this is how rich people stay rich because like the tax implication definitely changes through that format. And, I've always been very good. Like, if I get a paycheck, I take out my 30% and I put it somewhere else. And it's like, that doesn't belong to me. And so, after like doing the S Corp taxes for the first year, I was like, great, here's my like $10,000 for taxes. And he's like, oh, no, we don't need all that. Oh,
That is, it's so
okay.
nice when
Yes.
you're at that stage to be like, "Oh, I don't have to write a five-figure check to the government this year?
Yes.
Amazing."
Yes. And then you can reinvest that into the business and
Hmm.
it's very good for me in that like I don't end up over underspending for the business or personal because it's separate. Like it's very clearly like this paycheck goes over there, so those are the groceries and all of that kind of thing. And then the business stuff stays in the business stuff. It's like the stress that has alleviated because as creatives, it's like this the ugly work that we don't want to do. But my tip for everyone is treat it like a video game. That's how I
Mm.
learned editing. That's how I've learned QuickBooks. I just treat it like it's a video game. It's not like I got to work on my finances. I was like, I got to play QuickBooks.
So, from what I can tell, you're in a bit of a season of change. What's driving all of that?
So this season right now, I'm trying to bridge between helping creators, which is I've always done, and I feel like I won't get away from that. Like I love to help creators. I'm not necessarily the push this button to turn the camera on gal anymore. And information like that is easy to come across. How to XYZ, you can ask an AI agent and it will tell you in less than 20 seconds what you need and explain it to you in your terms, right? So trying to elevate. Now, helping creators, but then how do I also access like other things that I'm passionate about? And I used to do TV, TV and film analysis, pop culture analysis, TV after shows. Like I was on podcasts like that, like for years, a lifetime ago. I was like, I did really enjoy that. And I do live in Los Angeles, so I know I have like access to interesting stuff here. Content creators, what I'm seeing, content creators want to be Hollywood. My Hollywood friends want to be content creators. There's a bridge here somewhere to make things make sense and what's important to understand. So I will analyze pop culture. So this experiment, this first experiment that I ran through was with the Lady Gaga concert, the Mayhem Ball. Like it was a fantastic show that melded pop music and theater. And it had a lot of elements in it that captured me as an audience member, but also storytelling wise and also production wise. Is that not what we also try to do as content creators? So this transition is now trying to figure out how can I capture people who are fans of various pop culture things, things that are in the ethos, things that people are talking about, and how they make this relevant to creators. So a recent video I did was talking about what can creators learn from Bad Bunny at the Super Bowl. What was there to take away from that? But finding the way that this bridge happens, that's not just here's what creators can learn, because I also like want to nerd out about the stuff because I think that's fun too. So that's where this experiment is going right now. And then I will tell you I will always experiment. There's always, because we have to adjust with the times. So doing an XYZ tutorial is not that interesting to me anymore, and also is very easy to come across. And it's not that interesting to me because it is easy to come across, where I'm like, I don't know, just ask the thing, it'll tell you. Like, you don't need me to show you that thing. But of course, if someone has a question, I'm like always happy to like answer a comment, but I don't need a content strategy that is the library. But I do keep that stuff behind a paywall. So when I have my tutorials, those things are inside Video Creator Club. And there I feel like I can actually help people because they don't just come for the tutorial and then I never see them again, right? They can come into the membership, they can watch the tutorial, and then I can continue to help them with thinking beyond just the technical, because there's more to being a creator than the technical. So this is the gap that I'm trying to build right now, is like, it used to be gear reviews, and I cannot tell you, like, I have so many cameras sitting in front of me right now. I'm like, I cannot get another camera. I cannot. Like, it's fun to play with the cameras, but I can't, like, that hustle is just, it's just not that exciting to me anymore.
One thing that came to mind, and you might have already considered this, but as where I sit at Uscreen, I have seen the production disparity that still exists between creators and like the legacy celebrity world, because we have both on the platform, right? So I have worked with the legacy fitness influencer, or fitness celebrity is the better way of saying it, who still will hire out a full-on production crew to film any piece of content. And I mean any. Like, we're talking stories and social content. They'll have a full production crew with a director and a producer and a DP and a first assistant director and a gaffer. And I'm like, how much money is that costing you? Because I'm then jumping to a call immediately after with somebody who lives in rural, let's just say Tennessee or Kentucky, and is a mom and a fitness influencer and films on her phone every single piece of content that is in her paid membership catalog, and she is burying the legacy celebrity in terms of revenue. And like, I think a I would be interested in watching like a breakdown of the production value of those things and how one worked, like how one came to exist. And then on the other side, you've got like Mr. Beast, who's kind of like a bridge between those worlds, in the sense that he has the massive crews, but they're using the gear of the typical creator, right? Like they're using drones and GoPros and that kind of thing, rather than like like film cameras. So
Mhm.
I feel like a breakdown of that, or something along those lines, would be really interesting, that you kind of uniquely positioned to talk about.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wanting to kinda harness. So, I had a podcast years ago that was on the fly filmmaking, and I would interview anyone who was not the actors. So anyone who was not on camera. So directors, costume, composer, everyone else. And those people have really good stuff to learn from and are putting a lot of good work out there and are willing to come talk to you on a podcast. They will come and, you can talk to those folks. I had the best time doing that show, and I still like it means a lot to me, and like how can I bring this also to the creators, because we know creators will hyperfixate on how can they make it look cinematic. And it's like, what do you even mean when you say this? When you say these words, what do you mean? Cuz yes and no, right? There's something to explore and explain there. And I have had people in my group, and like this is like the asking other people, asking community, being part of community, where I'm like, what is it that you guys feel I help you with? And they're like, well, you see things in a different way than we do because I have a different experience, like working in traditional TV film stuff and then working in creator world. And seeing things differently, what they wanted from me was to explain why what I saw was important. Because I could be like, yes, that shot is so great. And they're like, but why? Well, why? And then how can they implement something like that without it being exactly the same? It doesn't have to be that. But some people don't understand like status, right? Like if you are higher up and the camera's looking up at you, right? It's a different status than if your camera is up and looking down at you, then you're at a lower status, right? Those subtle things can make a difference. But creators don't always necessarily understand that because they're not looking at storytelling and filmmaking in that way. All they see is they've got millions of dollars of gear. But it's not there's more to it than that.
Okay, so my next question is a bit of a turn, but we're going to roll with it. So, if I did my research correctly, you were filming at a middle school in Oklahoma when some girls came up to you and said, "We didn't know girls could do that." How did that moment impact you, and how do you think it shows up in your work now?
Daniel, I went to the bathroom and cried when they said this to me. I was like overwhelmed with that concept. And like, I went like I was like cleaned myself up and I came back out. But it really that shifted things for me because I was like, oh yeah, I'm just doing things, I'm just filming things. And when these little girls came up to me and they said, we didn't know girls could do that, I was like, I have to do this because they need to see someone. I came up as the person who didn't need to be seen doing something to do it. I was just like, I want to do it, I'll do it. But not everybody feels like that. So I have to, so they can know it's possible. And I feel like that for everyone. The thing that you want to be doing, you need to be doing what you needed to see when you felt invisible. You have to show up. It is so important to the continuation of like the growth of humanity, right? Like to get like, you're like talk woo woo, like we could get woo woo. It's we need to be there to perpetuate the growth of humanity. We have to show up. It changed. Like, that was a pivotal turning point for me of, oh, I'm just a camera girl. I can come and like make this sizzle reel to, oh, I need to like get online and talk about this. Cause that was a behind the scenes gig. That was like, I'm just production. And then I was like, oh, I need to get online. Like I had already been doing it, but not at the same level, not at the same amount. And now I've started to actually see in my audience as I've like continued to push away from the tech reviews, because what I found a lot with the tech reviews was the audience skews very male. And I have no problem like helping the guys, but the people I need to reach are the
Mm,
gals who don't feel like they can understand these things
yeah.
because they feel like it's not their thing
Mm.
because they didn't know girls could do that. That's like the root of everything is that moment. So I'm really glad you found that one.
And I would say if you're somebody who feels like that while you listen to this, why not you? I
Mhm.
think that's a better question. Why not? It should be
Yeah.
you. What would you say to somebody in a similar vein? What would you say to someone who's been creating or thinking about creating for years, but still doesn't feel like they have permission or they belong?
I give you permission. Here's the permission slip. Take it. It's yours. Put it on your fridge. You're allowed. And you should. And the thing is, I will tell you this, it will haunt you forever. So you might as well just answer the call
Hmm.
and see. And see what happens. I dare you. I dare you. Just try. Whatever. Who cares? See what happens.
I love it. That I feel like you're preaching right now, which is awesome. Well, Mary Lou, thank you so much for being here and for the way that you've built this. Where should people go if they want to follow your work or join the Video Creator Club?
You can find me all over the internet at Marielou Mandl. It's spelled specifically, so do look for the link for it, but I have that name everywhere. And then if you're interested in Video Creator Club, we've got a library of resources and we've got a community of creators. It is not Video Idea Club. That's my one rule. It's not Video Idea Club. This is Video Creator Club. So if you want to actually be creating videos, then you can come hang out with us, videocreator.club/join.
I love that. Well, all of those links will be in the show notes and then in the video description. And if this conversation shifted how you think about sustainability, longevity, or what it actually takes to build a creator business that lasts, send it to someone who needs to hear it. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.